The next couple of projects I have are not that exciting. So what I thought I would do, rather than do a big production video once a week, I thought I would do some shorter videos. This was supposed to go much smoother, but I'm having problems, technical difficulties. Yeah, all right. Okay, so the way this was supposed to work, it was going to be a sight gag. All right, I was going to be casually rolling out the rolls, and I wasn't cutting. They were just going to come off the roll as if they knew what size they should have been. But I did 4 takes, and I still can't figure it out. This level of incompetence can only come naturally. There's no way you can act and get this kind of incompetence. Look, I shortcut that piece now. Okay. Well, believe me, in my head, this was a funny gag. Maybe some other time. As you know, I sanded those babies in my fort. Had a ball in there doing that. But then I had to get them cleaned up. I had to get them all nice and clean so I could paint them. So what do? After months and months of complaining about the weather, I took the boards outside. That's right, outside. Enough with the dust in the studio. Enough already. It was a beautiful sunny day anyway. So once they got all nice and clean outside with the vacuum, then I brought them here. I lined them all up on the table, and I cleaned them again with a tacky cloth. A tacky cloth is basically a sticky rag. When you use one to wipe down the wood, it picks up all those fine micro dust particles, leaves the surface clean and ready for finishing. Yes, so now they're ready to go, and I set about painting. I started out like I would have for any other project, but this time I was using milk paint. That milk paint, it's funny stuff. I'm not going to say it's weird. I'm just going to say it's different. It's frothy. I mixed the paint one day and opened the can the next morning to start. This is what I found. Frothy. And this is what I found every time the paint sat for any length of time. But it easily mixed back down to a very familiar consistency. It's like working with a milkshake. But I will say this. The finish is quite nice. It's just what I was after. I was after a very, very flat look. I didn't want any reflectance at all, but I didn't want it to be chalky either. And but here's what happened. I get to the point where I'm sanding 2 coats down, and I'm just ever so slightly translucent in this grain. And I like that. I like that a lot because my cross struts, my aluminum ceiling struts that hold these things in place, they're going to be wrapped in white leather. So this would be a nice complement in texture to the white leather. The whole ceiling is white. The planks are white and my struts are white, but they're different textures. This was going to be a flat white paint, tongue and groove, and the shape was going to come from the shadows that are created by the groove, the tongue and the groove. That's how I wanted this ceiling to look. There's a scrape in that board. I gotta fix that. See? So what you would get on the ceiling is you just get shadow. That's how you're going to delineate any shape up there. It's all white and texture, leather. Now I didn't think about this until it happened. This is really quite nice to be able to just ever so slightly see that grain. Now here's what I'll say. These boards are not a bright white enough. They're not bright white enough yet for me. I want them to pop. as a bright white. They're still a little bit dirty, like the tan of the wood is coming through. So I'm going to put 2 more coats on, and then you should see how this knocks down. When you sand this, I'm using the 400 or 600 grit sandpaper, and you knock down the bumps. Oh, it really does. This stuff ends up really well. I think I like what it does. Now I'm going to get back to the company, the real milk company, and see if they don't have a wax that I could top this with once it's done. Once I get the finish where I want it, I might want to put a nice wax on it, or maybe he's got some type of a top coat, a finish that will go over this. He'll recommend. He's been very good, Dwight. So that's where we're at. I think this is going to turn out really well.